Hello, everyone. Welcome to How to Read Chinese Poetry podcast. I'm Zong-qi, the program host. In this podcast program, my colleagues and I aim to introduce cutting-edge scholarship on Chinese poetry to a broad general audience. We will present 52 episodes covering the major poetic genres developed over China's long history. Each episode features close reading of one or more of the best-known Chinese poems, with an aim to illuminate their literary greatness and cultural significance. For all the discussed poems, Chinese text, English translation, romanization, and brief notes are provided at our website, howtoreadchinesepoetry.com. By following the 52 episodes, listener will gain a bird's-eye view of the thematic, formal, and generic evolution of Chinese poetry from antiquity to the modern era. Instruct and delight is what we wish to accomplish in each talk. Without further ado, let's begin. Today, Professor Li will present her last episode on the topic, entitled, What Does It Mean to Say, I Love You? Let us welcome Professor Li.
In this episode, the theme is, what does it mean to say, I love you? In diplomatic gatherings, statesmen sometimes use love poems to articulate their expectations. One example is a meeting dated to the year 541 BCE, when the Jin leader Zhao Wu, the Lu minister Shu Sunbao, and the Zheng minister Han Hu all recite poems. Zhao Wu indicates his wish for a simple reception by reciting gourd leaves, and the ministers of Lu and Zheng comply. This is the passage describing their recitations in Zhuozhuan. Shu Sunbao recited Magpie's Nest. Zhao Wu said, I'm not worthy. Shu Sunbao then recited Picking Artemisia, saying, the small domain is the artemisia. The great domain cherishes it and uses it sparingly. Can we fail to receive what you issue as anything but a command? Han Hu recited the last stanza of There's a Dead Doe in the Wilds, and Zhao Wu recited Plum Tree, saying, if we brothers join together for peace, then we can keep the dog from howling. Shu Sunbao, Han Hu, and the Cao high officer rose, bowed, raised their buffalo horn goblets, and said, the small domains rely upon you and know that they will be delivered from violence. They drank and made merry. When Zhao Wu exited, he said, never again am I to take such pleasure. Zhao Wu starts by reciting gourd leaves, which begins with the image of picking and boiling gourd leaves and roasting a rabbit. By this, Zhao Wu wants to convey the message that he wants a simple reception. This can imply that Jin is making less onerous demands on its less powerful allies. Small states like Lu and Zheng should be happy about this, but they also fear that this modesty may imply Jin weakness, for they need Jin to protect them from the powerful and aggressive Chu. Jin and Chu were the most powerful states at that time. So let's look at Shu Sunbao's Magpie's Nest.
Magpie's Nest. The magpie has a nest. The cuckoo stays there. This maiden is to be married. 100 carriages welcome her. The magpie has a nest. The cuckoo makes it home. This maiden is about to be married. 100 carriages send her off. This magpie has a nest. The cuckoo fills it. This maiden is about to be married. 100 carriages complete the rites.
This seems to be a wedding song. The bride is like the cuckoo. Her groom is the magpie. In later idioms, the cuckoo taking over the magpie's nest means usurpation or intrusion, but that's only later. Here the meaning is positive. Shu Sunbao is comparing himself and Lu to the cuckoo that needs a refuge, and Zhao Wu and Jin to the magpie extending protection and hospitality. Zhao Wu says that he is not worthy because he does not want to be compared to the husband in a marriage, because that would imply Jin superiority. Again, Shu Sunbao seems to worry about Zhao Wu's modesty because it means that Jin does not want to be responsible for smaller states like Lu, so he recites picking artemisia. Here's the poem.
Picking artemisia. Where does she pick artemisia? By the pools, on the islets. How does she use it? For the rituals of lords and princes. Where does she pick artemisia? By the mountain stream. Where does she use it? In the temple of lords and princes. In resplendent robes she plies her task, day and night. In robes gently swaying, she makes her way back.
The poem describes a lady picking humble plants to prepare for an important ritual, and she does so with dignity and attention. Does it mean that Lu will serve Jin just like the lady serves the Lord? Shu Sunbao seems to worry that the poem may be understood through that simple analogy. That's why he adds, the small domain is the artemisia. The great domain cherishes it and uses it sparingly. In other words, Lu is the artemisia, that plant. Jin is the lady picking that plant. Why is this comparison better for Lu? This means that Jin will have to treat a small state like Lu with extreme care, using it only sparingly and only for a proper purpose. This is the only example in Zhuozhuan when someone recites a poem and offers his own interpretation. It is important because Shu Sunbao wants to emphasize that the loyalty of small states is conditional. Jin has to behave responsibly and protect them when necessary in order to earn their loyalty. In these two poems, Shu Sunbao adopts a women's perspective. The Zheng minister Han Hu continues the feminine role by reciting "There's a dead doe in the wilds." Here's the poem.
In the wilds there is a dead doe. With white rushes we cover her. There was a lady longing for the spring. A fair night seduced her. In the wood there is a clump of oaks, and in the wilds a dead deer with white rushes well bound. There was a lady fair as jade. Hey, not so hasty, not so rough. Hey, do not touch my handkerchief. Take care, or the dog will bark.
Is this a poem about courtship, seduction, or marriage proposal? What do the dead doe wrapped in white rushes and the dead deer in the wilds symbolize? Can this be a gift of courtship or betrothal? Is it a metaphor for the covering up of lost innocence? What seems unmistakable is that the speaker of the last stanza is the girl, when she says slowly, gently, "Do not ruffle my kerchief, do not make the dog howl." What is the tone? How do we hear this? Is she willing? Is her admonition serious, forbidding, playful, timid, or anxious? What is Han Hu trying to say? Is he telling Jin to approach a small state like Zheng with proper care and respect? Is he saying, do not force Zheng to lose its dignity. Just like the girl in the poem, she should not have to worry about her chastity. However, that is not how Zhao Wu, the Jin minister, understands this poem. He recites Plum Tree. We don't have time to quote the poem in full here. Suffice it to say that it celebrates brotherhood. It has lines like the following.
Plum Tree, Arthur Waley's translation. Plop 4 the plums, but there are still 7. Let those gentlemen that would court me come while it is lucky. Plop 4 the plums, there are still 3. Let any gentleman that would court me come before it is too late. Plop 4 the plums, in shallow baskets we lay them. Any gentleman that would court me had better speak while there is time.
The fear of death and mourning makes brothers long for each other. The waterfowl is on the plain. Brothers relieve the plight of each other. Brothers may quarrel within the walls, but outside they fend off insults. Brothers should feast together. Set forth your food stands, drink wine to your fill. Instead of dwelling on how Jin should exercise his power, Zhao Wu turns the attention to his rival, Chu. Quote, if we brothers join together for peace, then we can keep the dog from howling. Jin, Lu, and Zheng share the clan name Ji and are related to the Zhou royal house by kinship ties. They should band together to fend off outside threats. Chu is thus the howling dog. If Jin confirms his alliance with smaller states like Zheng and Lu, then Chu will be kept at bay. With this recitation, it is as if Jin, Lu, and Zheng now agree that they should mutually support each other, and that Jin, as the leader, will protect the smaller states and treat them with care. In fact, Jin's power is declining at this point and is no match for Chu. The Zhuozhuan account ends on a note of foreboding. Zhao Wu declares that he will not experience such a pleasurable gathering again. He dies 8 months later. Zhao Wu is an interesting combination of cultural competence, textual knowledge, and political weakness. Poetry celebrates interstate friendship, but cannot really change the balance of power. Cultural competence unsupported by political efficacy may ultimately be futile. With this slightly discouraging thought on whether and how poetry can change political reality, we conclude our discussion of poetry and diplomacy in Zhuozhuan.
Let us thank Professor Li for such a stimulating talk. This talk concludes the second topic, the Book of Poetry and Diplomacy. To learn more from Professor Li on this topic, you may read her chapter on the Book of Poetry in the book, How to Read Chinese Poetry in Context, Poetic Culture from Antiquity Through the Tang. Next week, we'll get started on a third topic on the Book of Poetry, entitled The Han Canonization of the Book of Poetry. I myself will be the host. I hope you enjoyed the talk. Let's relax and listen to a reading of the poems in Mandarin.
诗经少南鹊巢惟鹊有巢惟鸠居之之子于归百辆压之惟鹊有巢惟鸠方之之子于归百辆将之惟鹊有巢惟鸠迎之之子于归百两成之。诗经 少男，采矾。予以采矾，予爪予指，予以用之，公侯之事。予以采矾，于剑之中，予以用之，公侯之功。必之彤彤，夙夜在公。必之齐齐，伯言还归。
诗经·少男，也有死君。也有死君，白毛包之。有女怀春，即是诱之。邻有仆宿，也有死鹿。白毛纯树，有女如玉。疏而退退兮，无憾我睡兮。吾使忙也废。
诗经·小雅，长帝。长帝之花，恶不为伪。凡今之人，莫如兄弟。死丧之期，兄弟恐怀。原席褒矣，兄弟求矣。己令在原，兄弟急难。没有良朋，旷野咏叹。兄弟系于墙，外御其舞。没有良朋，争也无容。丧乱既平，既安且宁。虽有兄弟，不如有生。并而边斗，应酒之欲。兄弟既聚，和悦且如。妻子好合，如鼓琴瑟。兄弟既息，和悦且耽。以尔世家，乐尔妻奴。事究仕途，胆其然乎！